Okay. Okay. So spinal nerves. Okay. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Okay. So there they are. So they come out from the spinal cord instead of the brain. Okay. And what you'll see is that they connect to the spinal cord in two places, from the front and from the back. And those are the roots. Okay. So let's see. Here are the roots. Okay, we went over this when we talked about the spinal cord. Now we're looking at the actual spinal nerves. Okay, the spinal nerves have two roots, a dorsal root and a ventral root. The way to tell, so the dorsal root, okay, is going to be sensory information. Sensory information will be transmitted through the pseudo-unipolars. So there's going to be a bulge here with all the nucleus is here. Okay, so this is a ganglion. The ganglion is called the dorsal root ganglion, and so the dorsal root ganglion is on the back. Okay, so this short little thing is a spinal nerve. Okay, there's sensory information coming from the back and from the front. They go through the spinal nerve and emerge only from the back. There's motor information coming from the front and the back, and they only go through the ventral root in the front. Okay, so the spinal root is where the spinal nerve is where they finally, concentrate all sensory and all motor. Okay, so the way this works, you have roots, you have a trunk, and then you have branches. The roots are the roots here. The trunk is actually called a spinal nerve or spinal trunk. And then you have the branches. Branches in Latin is ramus. So you have the dorsal ramus and ventral ramus. Okay, dorsal ramus goes toward the back. The ventral ramus goes toward the front. Okay. So here, okay, is a more accurate description showing these are the rootlets, okay, the root, and then the trunk, and then the ventral horn and dorsal horn, okay, or ventral ramus and dorsal ramus. Okay, the dorsal rami are boring. They literally go to where they're right next to. So the dorsal ramus will come to right at this location of the spinal cord, right in the back, and iterate that little bit. And it's same for every stage of the vertebrae. The ventral rami in the thoracic region are the same thing. They come out the front and innervate that area right around them. Okay. Now the rest of it is weird. Okay. The ventral rami form something called a nerve plexus. Okay. A nerve plexus, okay, is a bunch of nerves that crisscross. Okay. So they're in the cervical, the lumbar, the brachial, and the sacral regions. Okay. And they primarily innervate the limbs. Okay. So what I want you guys to know about each plexus is the rami it branches off from, okay, and the major nerves that it serves. And anything on this presentation is a major nerve that it serves, okay? If it's not on this presentation, it's not on the test, and it's not the right answer to any question, okay? All right, the first thing Okay, the cervical plexus. The cervical plexus comes off of C1 through C5. Okay? All right. The most important nerve of the cervical plexus, and the only one you have to know, is the phrenic. Okay? The phrenic innervates the diaphragm. Okay, so here you can see the cervical plexus. Okay, they come from C1, C2, C3, C4, and C5, and you see they crisscross each other. Okay, here at the bottom, where it's coming out is actually the phrenic nerve. The phrenic nerve has fibers coming from C3, C4, and C5. Okay, all tap into the phrenic nerve. The phrenic nerve keeps you breathing. Is the nerve responsible for breathing. So what happens if you break your neck above the phrenic nerve? You're no longer breathing. Okay, so C3, 4, 5 keeps the diaphragm alive. Okay, the brachial plexus is formed by the ventral rami of C5 through T1. Okay, the cords give rise to the main nerves of the upper limb. Okay, so C5, C6, C7, C8, T1 give rise to the 5 major nerves of the upper limb. Okay, the musculoskeletal, the median, the ulnar, the radial, and the axillary. Okay, okay. The musculoskeletal, okay, innervates the biceps and the brachialis. Okay, the median and the ulnar, okay, innervates the anterior forearm. Okay, the radius innervates the posterior forearm and a posterior arm, and then the axillary is only in the deltoid region, axillary region, deltoid and teres minor. Okay, so you can look at this. Okay, these charts are helpful. What I'm concerned about for each nerve is the innervation of the muscles. I'm not really interested in the innervation of the skin. Okay, so for example, if I ask you what nerve innervates the biceps, then you're going to tell me that it is the musculatus. Okay, remember I said the arm was split into compartments, the arm and forearm were split into compartments? The musculatus innervates the anterior arm. Okay, the ulnar and the median innervate the anterior forearm. The radial nerve innervates the posterior arm and posterior forearm. The axillary just innervates the axillary region. Okay, so you can see that in this picture and in the next one here. Okay, all right. Okay, so I'm going to show you a cute little trick to remember. Okay, okay. First of all, okay, 5 fingers, 5 nerves. Okay, or 5 rami. So this one's C5, this one's C6, this one's C7, this one's C8, and this one's T1. Okay, my little pinky T1. Okay, so C5, 6, 7, 8, T1. Okay, so the 5 nerves are, let me bring up my white screen for a second. Okay. Okay, 3 musketeers assassinate, 5 rats, 5 mice, and 2 unicorns. Okay. Rats, mice, 2 unicorns. Okay. First of all, let's go over the names. Musketeers. Okay. Musculocutaneous. Assassinate. Okay. Axillary. Radial. Okay. Median. Ulnar. Okay. So the 3 musketeers. Okay. So the musculocutaneous comes off of C5, C6, C7. Assassinate, you assassinate with a gun, right? So C5, C6, or C5, C6. 5 rats, so the radius it comes from all 5. Okay. 5 mice, so the median comes from all 5 rabbi, and 2 unicorns. The ulnar comes off of C8 and T1. Okay. Okay, that's a lot of information. Most of that information you don't have to know what ventral rabbi comes through which nerve, but you have to know the 5 nerves, and you have to know what regions of what part of the arm they innervate. Okay. Okay, the lumbar plexus. The lumbar plexus arises from L1 to L4. Okay, there's 2 major branches that you have to know: the femoral and the obturator. The femoral innervates the anterior thigh, so the thigh is split into 3 compartments: the anterior, the posterior, and the medial. Okay, the femoral nerve innervates the anterior thigh. The obturator nerve innervates the medial thigh. And what you'll see is the sciatic nerve innervates the posterior thigh. Okay, okay. So the sacral plexus, L4 to S4. Okay, the big nerve that comes out of that, okay, is the sciatic nerve. Remember, I said there's the sciatic notch, and there's a big nerve that comes out of it. Is the sciatic nerve. Okay, the sciatic nerve runs all the way back down your legs. Okay, from your thigh down to your legs, underneath your calcaneus, and goes to the toes. Okay. All right. The tibial nerve. Okay. So here's the tibial nerve. The tibial nerve innervates. Okay. The posterior thigh. So the posterior compartment of the thigh. Okay. And the posterior leg. Okay. Okay. The common fibular nerve innervates mostly the lateral compartment of the leg, okay, and the anterior compartment. Okay. The dermatomes. Okay, we'll skip the dermatomes. Okay. Disorders of the nerves. Shingles, herpes zoster. For those of us who had chickenpox, that chickenpox virus has never fully disappeared from your body. It's literally hiding in one of the dorsal ganglia. You just can't tell which one. Okay. Under times of stress, what you'll see is that you'll get an outbreak of chickenpox, but it won't have the same symptoms. The symptoms is called shingles. It innervates a single nerve, and that nerve becomes extremely inflamed and extremely painful. Okay. Okay. All right. So that's it for today. I will go over this again in class, I'm sure. So